Welcome into Picks and Parlays Bettors Edge. It's week 9. Week 8, however, a lot of quarterbacks went down. So a lot of these lines are interesting. A lot of these storylines get increasingly interesting. But to start off, two teams that will be okay in the quarterback position. That Germany game at 9:30, Dolphins and Chiefs. Now, this line opened up at 5.5 in favor of the Chiefs, actually. It's down all the way to 2.5, still in favor of Kansas City. The Dolphins, the underdog. Pony, when you look at this one, are you confident in Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins right now, especially against a Chiefs team that just got stampeded by the Broncos, pun intended?
Yeah, not really, because Miami has struggled so much in games against good teams. They have found a way to decisively beat the non-contenders, the doormat last-place caliber teams. And then their two opportunities to look like they're for real against the Bills and against the Eagles both went terribly. I am willing in this game, because the line is so low, to take Kansas City minus 2.5 because Patrick Mahomes had the flu last week. He was not himself. They had won 16 in a row against Denver. It was almost like they were due to lose that game. And I think they're going to put their eggs in this game's basket and go there and win and prove to people yet again that they are the class of the AFC. So I like minus 2.5.
What I liked in this one, Craig, was the over. We've talked about these overseas games and the amount of points that can be put up. Well, now you have two of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL, two exciting offenses. You're overseas. I'm going to say this one's going to be a shootout. I didn't love that line. I'm just not sure. I had a lot of...
What's the total? What's the number?
The total is at 50.5. It's a lot. I get that. But I think after the performance that the Chiefs just had, where they need to prove that their offense can do something, I think you see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes really prove that they can do something overseas, and especially against the Dolphins. They need to put up a good performance against this team to sort of get any type of respect back that they might have lost playing against the Denver Broncos. But also, we know how explosive this Dolphins offense can be. I know Pony's point about playing against good teams and what they can do, but this is their chance to just be explosive, put points on the board, and keep this one close. So I'm going to say this one goes over 50.5, Craig. What are your thoughts?
This line is scary because you think the Chiefs, even with the performance last week, you think the Chiefs are clearly at least a field goal favorite, yet it's at 2.5. It's begging you to take the Chiefs. When that usually happens as a handicapper, I have to go the other way. I'm gonna take the Dolphins plus the points. The over I worry a little bit about, although I'll piggyback your over anyway. So let's take if you're taking the Dolphins, you have to think points. So I would take the Dolphins and the over. Let's put the Dolphins as a stronger play, though.
Yeah, the only thing I could get behind in that one was hopefully seeing points scored, and I think that's the game that football fans want to see. So manifesting that a little bit as well, a shootout between these two teams, because I'd love to see that on a Sunday morning. Seahawks and Ravens. The Seahawks are 5.5-point underdogs headed into Baltimore, and perhaps the most inconsistent team in the NFL. They're just really, you never know what you're going to get from Geno Smith. Will they have this comeback game in the second half? Will they put up 17 points in the first quarter? We don't know. But heading into Baltimore, Craig, what do you think the Seahawks are going to do?
Rough spot for Seattle. You remember, Seattle, they lost in a low-scoring game in Cincinnati. At home, they won against Arizona. Not super impressive. And then the Browns. The Browns do what the Browns do. I mean, all they have to do is run the ball, punt. At worst, you think it goes to overtime, and they throw an interception, and then, of course, the comeback touchdown there by Seattle. I'm just not – early time slot. Teams head at west to east. I'm taking the Ravens here. Ravens are for real. The one thing that stopped them the last few years hasn't been the talent. It's been the injuries. Finally, this team is getting a little healthier, and Lamar Jackson looks like the MVP that he was a few years back. So I'm going to take the favorite here at home, lay the points.
Maybe Craig and I are on the same wavelength this week, and Pony's the one that's going to be standing out. Do you feel good about Seattle in this one? That 5.5 is interesting.
I love Seattle getting points. I've been pretty consistent on that this year, where when Seattle lays a lot of points, I try to steer clear of them. And then when they're an underdog, and especially when they're getting more than a field goal, I like them, because I do think, given their quick strike offense and the fact that they can have big quarters and big scoring outbursts in a short amount of time, that usually makes them a very live dog. We saw them do that in Detroit in week 2 this season. Lamar Jackson's record against NFC teams is incredible. I think win percentage-wise, it's the best in NFL history against a cross-conference foe. But, man, I just look at Seattle as the type of team that when the Ravens, everything looks like it's headed in the right direction for them. They blow out Detroit. They handle their business in Arizona. Could see them coming back down to earth here, or at the very least having to win this game very late. So that's why I'm going to take the points.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a gut play for me, but I want to go with the Ravens. I wish I could just play them on the money line, but there's not good value in that. I looked at their win margin. The good old win margin is sitting at 1 to 13. I do. I love this bet. It tends to work when that 1 to 13 is there and you get some plus money value, because I agree with you, and I agree with you. I think this is a place where if Lamar Jackson plays to the MVP caliber that he's capable of, I think they win this game. Seattle's been so inconsistent that when you have a team like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, this could be closer than that 5.5 line might be. But I don't trust Seattle, and I don't necessarily trust Baltimore all the way, but I trust Baltimore at home to pull out a win. And even if it's close, I don't think they're going to be winning by more than 2 touchdowns. I don't think that they're going to be winning maybe by that 6 or 7 point line, but I'll give them like that 1 or 2. So heck yeah, give me that win margin at plus money value for the Baltimore Ravens. But
do you like those bets, by the way, Craig? No. Where do you don't? No. You don't like the margins?
I like them when you can get. Here's what
I never win. That's all what if you can win doing it. Great.
I can win doing it, but also I like it when. This is the perfect situation where I like it, where there's not good value on the money line, but I wish I could just take a team on the money line, and then you get plus money value to have a team win by 1 or 2 points, possibly. Give me that all day. I don't think the Ravens are going to blow them out. If they do, then they're going to become one of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL to talk about. All right, moving to Rams and Packers. Wow, what a duo these two teams might shape up to be. There's questions about Matthew Stafford and his thumb. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love have looked like the worst romance novel we've ever seen written so far. Everyone had high expectations for this refresh system. Hasn't been going well. This line is sitting at 3 points, so in favor of the Packers. So, Pony, when you look at this game, how do you feel?
Well, I don't feel good betting on the Packers, but I think I've been left no choice. The line is 3, so if I'm going to pick a side in this game, I'm going to go with the home team because of Stafford's thumb injury. If it's Brett Rippon who has to play, or if it's Matt Stafford compromised, we know he doesn't have the dual threat ability where he can make plays with his legs. It's all about his arm and their downfield passing. Their run game, we're talking about Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman, guys like that, now that Kyrene Williams is out, so they can't even really lean on that aspect of their offense and get consistent production there. But, geez, I do not really feel – you sound conflicted a lot of times here, Hannah. This is a really, really tricky game for me. I usually like underdogs if I can make a strong argument for them to win, and you think it would be there against Green Bay because of how – putrid they've looked, but I, in good conscience, really, with the Stafford injury, can't bet the Rams in this spot.
I can see your argument for the Packers there. When I looked at this game, the only thing I could look at in terms of what I could rely on in this one is the Rams defense to perform. That's sort of where the Rams can rely upon right now. The Packers offense, on average right now, 15 points per game in their last 4 losses. Absolutely putrid, abysmal. It's been non-existent. What I'm going to say is I think this game could be a lower scoring game, especially with the quarterback situation for the Rams. LaFleur and Love, like I said, have not been clicking. There's something off. I'm going to say Packers team total under 21.5. This could be, if they score 20 points, I think that would be a win for them in this one. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't expect it to be more than what they've been able to produce in the last 4 games, especially against a better defense like what the Rams have. So 21.5, the under on that for the Packers team total. Craig, are you a fan of the Packers in this one?
Run, do not bet this game. But if you're going to bet it, I think you have to take the minus points here with the Packers. Packers are in desperation mode. They have to win this game. Like you said, banged up Rams team that, when you say Cooper Kupp, Puka, whatever, is throwing, they catch him. How are they not scoring more points? It makes 0 sense. Take the Packers here minus the points, although I hate it. Run away from this game because there couldn't be 2 teams that are playing worse right now than these 2 teams as far as what you see, their talent and what they're producing.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of big names on that team where there's a lot of question marks, especially when you played a team. We saw them what they did against the Steelers, and Puka Nacua had incredible numbers and, still can't produce the way that they'd want to in an entirety of a game. Cowboys at Eagles. This could very well determine the NFC East right here. So tell me, Pony, when you look at this game with the Eagles favored by 3 at home in Lincoln Financial, a team that plays fairly well at home, do you like them against Dallas?
I really don't. I have to confess here that there's a lot of recency bias here because I'm looking back at their last games for both teams, and I see the 31 points that Philly gave up to Washington and how Washington jumped out to a big lead. And then Philly, to their credit, fought back. A.J. Brown made huge plays for Jalen Hurts. And Dallas, it's hard to forget what they had happen to them in San Francisco when they had their big test and they laid such an egg. But I really come back to this. I think of the units that are in this game, I think Philly's defense is the one that I have the biggest question marks about. And so for that reason, I can push on a field goal. I know it's a hostile environment, and Dallas just has a history of just stinking up the joint in big games. But I'm just scratching my head with this Eagles defense right now, and I think this is a game where we come out of it thinking maybe something is off there. They had to trade for Byard to shore up their secondary. It is a new coordinator. And Dallas's offense, CeeDee Lamb right now, Brandon Cooks looks like he's finally fitting in. I think Dallas is going to put up points here and make it very, very interesting. So Cowboys +3.
Do you think CeeDee Lamb has an incredible game again like last week, Craig, and they get the Eagles?
I think it's going to be high scoring. So, yeah, I'd say he'll probably have a good game. To me, I just think the Eagles are the much better team. They can beat you so many different ways. They can beat you running the ball. That's what I thought Dallas was going to be able to do. They have not been a
He's
great
right about that.
And so when you can run to beat you, you can pass to beat you, I do think their defense is a little suspect. But if you throw out the 2 Washington games, which is just crazy that they struggle against Washington, but you said it last week, and it comes true. They're just these division opponents sometimes are just tough. I think you take the Eagles here -3. I just think they're clearly the better team at home. I think Hurts puts up a big performance, and I think he's going to use his legs a little bit in this game, a little more than he has. I like the Eagles -points.
The Eagles haven't lost at home yet this season. I'm going to play the Eagles money line for a lot of those same reasons. The Eagles are scoring 33 points per game at home this season. That's a lot of points to compete with for a Dallas offense who don't let that last game jade your thoughts too much. They had 2 strong offensive quarters, and that was about it. The rest was pretty average, and I think CeeDee Lamb was a huge reason for the success last week. So can they have that type of consistency again in a hostile Eagles environment? I'm not completely sure. I think even if they do well, I like Craig's analysis on this. The Eagles can beat you so many ways. And the Eagles, to their credit, they're a team that fights and they can win. So I'm going to say the Eagles pull this one out at home. They're too good at home to go against right now for me. So a little bit of a gut play as well in this one. Eagles money line. Craig, your Bengals. The Bills are coming back for blood after that January loss, but can they get it done against a healthy Joe Burrow?
Well, let's also remember the last time they were playing on Monday Night Football, I believe it was, when the Hamlin injury happened. The Bengals were dominating that game, even though it was early. I just think the Bengals are on a roll right now. They're playing maybe not top 2 or 3 teams in the league as far as the last few weeks. Once Joe Burrow got healthy and you've seen his ability to get out of the pocket, step up when he needs to and not be worried about, someone's going to hit his leg. I think you just take the Bengals until they prove you otherwise. Last year, once they had that slow start, they were the best team against the spread rest of the year. I think probably going to see that this year because they're playing some really good teams. The division's really good for the Bengals. You're going to play a lot of small spreads. I think this spread should be much higher. I think it's a gift. Take the Bengals -points.
I have the Bengals straight up in this one. Bengals money line. This is going to be my best bet of the week. I have a really good feeling about Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I think this is second half of the season football. There's been some inconsistencies with Josh Allen and the Bills. We weren't sure about them even in the first few games. I think if this game happened earlier this season, this line would be astronomical. The Bills would have walked in. They would have gone to the Bengals and ran away with this game. I agree with what you said. Those 31 points and the way Joe Burrow was moving in the pocket looks much more of what we expected to see the Bengals look like this season. And truthfully, in my opinion, this is a must-win game for them to take some momentum toward the second half of what we're seeing them do because they had such a struggle to start out with Joe Burrow. So I'm going to say Bengals money line. I'm excited about this game. I want to see what they can do against the Bills. This is going to have a narrative for me about who the identity of this team is going to be moving forward this season. I like where Joe Burrow is at the moment. I will go ahead and take the Bengals at home, Pony.
I like the Bills, and I think we're getting value in Buffalo because there's a narrative out there about them. Same with Dallas, that they struggle in these games against the upper echelon opponent or these litmus test kind of games. Now, remember, they did blow out Miami by 4 touchdowns. I think Buffalo has a tendency to toy around with teams that they know they're better than, and they keep Tampa Bay in the game. The Jets, reckless play by Josh Allen. Games in November where there's doubt about Buffalo and there's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I like them as an underdog. I think when they have a chance to reverse it and they're actually the hunter and not the hunted, I like them in those spots. We saw that the year after they went to Kansas City and lost the playoff game in those last 13 seconds. They beat them in Arrowhead the next regular season. So I think there's actually value here in Buffalo. I know their defense has taken on water, and I know Allen has looked at times sketchy because of the turnovers and lack of run game there. But, man, I think Cincinnati's going to be hard-pressed to duplicate what they did in San Francisco. Burrow was so electric in that game, 88% of his passes completed. I like Buffalo to beat him. But I'll take the 3.
I'd say the question here will be, can the Bills run the ball? And they might have to use Josh Allen's legs to create that run game, because if you can't, Bengals pass rush has been really good. You have to run the ball to keep the end. And that, I think, is Buffalo's one weakness, not just in this game, for playoffs, is can they run the ball enough to be able to keep the pass rushes also.
Yeah, and like what you said about the interceptions, Josh Allen has to be careful how much he's going to turn the ball over, especially in a game like this where there's going to be
I like
an
the
added level
Douglas
of
trade
excitement.
for them, for Buffalo. They brought in a corner that helps them in a matchup like this against those Bengals wide receivers. That was a big move.
There was a ton
of
trades this year. I was shocked to see as many trades because there's a lot of teams still in it. So you have to decide, are you sellers or not? It's early in the year for football now with the 17 weeks. So I was shocked to see so many trades.
Well, that bodes the next question then. Do any of those trades influence your best bets of the week? What would they be?
My best bet is the Eagles. Although they did the trade to get the cornerback, I think does help. But to me, when you take the Eagles, can they control the clock? And when they're winning the best, we saw them in the Dolphins game, they can just run the ball. They can just say, hey, we're going to go 6, 7, 8 minute drive, and you're not touching the ball. And that creates then a lot of pressure on the other team's offense. I think you take the Eagles here minus the points. I think they just completely send a message to not just the rest of the division, but to the Cowboys, like, hey, this is our division, our home field. You're not taking it. I like the Eagles minus 3 as the best bet of the week.
What's your best play, Pony?
I've become a big fan of Houston, and I know it's a weird time to say that because they just lost to a winless team. But I see in Stroud a guy that has the makings of being a really good NFL quarterback, and they're hosting Tampa Bay this week. The line's only 3 for Houston. I think we're getting closer and closer to Tampa Bay just pulling the plug on Mayfield because they know what he is at this point, and they've got Kyle Trask, who's unproven, behind him. I think you got to, at some point, go on a fact-finding mission with him. And when Houston's at home, I expect Stroud to not turn the ball over, make plays, and score a lot of points. And I know Tampa's had extra time to get ready for this game, but it just feels to me like a game that the Texans win with Stroud as their quarterback, and the line doesn't scare me off. So Houston minus 3 is going to be my best bet.
I like that bet, actually. I'm kind of liking the Houston train as well. So like your analysis on that one, I said Bengals money line. Please, AFC North, do not let me down this week. If you want more of our best bets, head over to the Picks and Parlays app. It's available on all mobile device platforms, and we will see you next week.